How's everybody doing out there? We are going to do some live mobility today. We're going to start with the shoulders, and we're going to use a bench and a dowel. So if you don't have these things, you can use a broom. You could also use some pillows, stack some pillows on top of each other, or find a bench just like this. All right, what's up everybody? I'm gonna go through the quick morning cars, and then I'm gonna do some mobility work with a dowel, a bench, and a block, okay? If you don't have this, you could stack pillows, and you could also use a broom for this as well. So I'm gonna just start with the morning cars, and then I'll get going through the shoulders using the dowel, block, bench. If you don't have that, just stack some pillows. So I'm going to squeeze the fists, flex the neck down, rotate ear to shoulder, extend the neck, rotate, look over the other shoulder, flex down, one more rotation, and then other way 2 times. Thoracic spine, flex down, rotate, bend, extend back, rotate, bend, flex down. One more. Then other way, 2 circles. Okay, shoulder, flexion, internal rotation to extension, all the way to adduction, and then back to extension, external rotation, across the body, down. One more, up, and back. Okay, 2 on the other way, other side. If you always want to add intensity, use a lacrosse ball or a tennis ball. Okay, elbows, flex, pronate, extend, supinate, flex, pronate, extend. Do that a couple times, then come up pronated, supinate down. And then wrists, extension, radial deviation, flexion, and ulnar deviation to extension. Changing my feet position as I do this so that I'm not staying like passively in plantar flexion the entire time. So I'll go like this, I'll go like this, I'll go like this. Okay, so you can do all these upper body mobility drills and lower body kinetic or passive positions. So getting the wrist here. Okay, now we're going for the hip. Love doing these standing. I like the leg sided, or the wall sided leg. Just feel like I have more. Use that dowel. So I'm going to sweep it up. Knee up. And then the knee will go down as the foot goes up. Back. extend, knee to knee, and sweep it back around. Switch. Okay, ankles, knees, and patella. All right, hook it underneath. Lock that tibia, external tibial rotation. Don't move the hip. Extend the knee about 3/4 of the way up. Internally rotate and then flex. Trying to squeeze the forearm here. Out, up, in, and down. And then in and up, out and down. Look at the ankles. And then the toes. Big toe down, small toes up. Switch. 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 All toes up, piano down. All toes up, piano down. And then all toes up. Just a big toe touch 3 times. And then patella. Side to side, up and down. And all the way around. So quick cars after morning cars, and then we'll get into shoulders. Out, up, in and down. And in and up, out and down. Ankle, full circle. And then toes, big toe down, switch, small toes down, big toe up, switch, switch, all toes up, piano down, all toes up, piano down, and then all toes up, big toe taps 3 times. And then right after that, get the patella. Full circle. Remember, whole body is relaxed here, back against the wall. You can't lock that leg out without tensing the knee. So being able to push that kneecap around, really important, as are all moving joints. Very important that they move, right? All right, so we're gonna get into shoulder work. If you don't have a bench like this, then you can possibly use cabinet, low cabinet, a bench, definitely lower than your typical like bench press, so something lower than that. You could stack pillows on top of each other. That might work, or books. You got tons of books at your house, you got nothing to do with them, and stack them all the way up. And then what we're going to do is use this as our barrier. We're also going to use the dowel. So it'd be great if you had both. If you don't have a dowel, you can use a broomstick. So you stack books, you got your broomstick, and maybe you're pressing pause. You're going to go get that stuff and come back. That's fine. All right, from here, all I'm going to do is just start with using this as a means to produce force, but working on shoulder flexion here with the hand that has the dowel. So from here, I don't want my scapula elevated so it looks like this. I want my scapula in a neutral position. I'm just flexing the shoulder. From here, I'm finding a good solid base position, then trying to find a stretch based on moving down or moving my hand up. So I can do either or. Once I found a solid position, again, you don't need the box for this. You could just go like this. And then from here, I'm going to start pressing the dowel into the ground. 5%, 10%, 15%, 20%, 30%, 40%, hold. And then what I'm going to do is try to go deeper into shoulder flexion by releasing the dowel, pressing the opposite fist into the bench, and then trying to reach further up the dowel without compensating my neck or my back, and then finding a new passive range. So if you feel like you're already at end range, you can come a little bit further down, find a good stretch position, end range, push down 5%, 10%, contracting all the tissue in your lat. So a lot of times you'll hear people say, well, if you can't do this, it's because you have really tight lats, right? You hear that. Well, basically, your glenohumeral joint is responsible for setting the spindle tone for the lats. So in order to train that, you have to train the end range of the joint capsule. So working in the capsular space as opposed to the tissue space, but using everything. So using the muscles, using the tissues, but now we're focusing in on that joint and that angle that we're creating in that joint, and then the force we're producing, passively relaxing first, and then producing that pals contraction, pushing into the ground. So contracting all that tissue in that end range from 5% to 10% to 20 to 30 to 40, and then climb that all the way up to 50 to 60%. And then hold that for 5, 4, 3, 2, and then we're going to try to slowly move further up the dowel. Even if you can't, that's fine. Try to just actively go up instead of down. Hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, and then go back to your passive range. Let's go ahead and switch side. Okay, so find that passive end range and shoulder flexion. You don't need the bench here, just need a dowel. Make sure that the scapula is neutral here. We're not elevating the scapula. Breathing here. Using this bench if you need to. And then from here, beginning to contract the tissues that are responsible for shoulder flexion. So the lats, beginning to press the dowel into the ground in this end range, 5%, 10%, 20%, 30 to 40, 40 to 50, and hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, and then we're going to try to go up the pole or up the dowel by just going deeper into shoulder flexion, finding a new end range, holding there, and then holding onto the dowel, back to your passive stretch. And then maybe deepening the stretch by getting lower and going over the same process. Push down, then pull up. Working both sides of that end range and shoulder flexion. Push down, pull up. All right, so that would be shoulder flexion. Now, for shoulder extension, we're going to put the dowel on top of this bench, or you can stack pillows or books. And from here, we're doing the same thing. So now we're in shoulder extension. Hal's effort is going to be pushing into the barrier, trying to get out, trying to progress the angle. Where your Ral's contraction, you're trying to regress the angle. So you're trying to go deeper into extension, trying to lift off and away from the barrier. Okay, you could also perform passive range liftoff from here. All I simply do is just use the regressive angular load and then parachute down, try not to drop down. But from here, what we'll do is stretch this passively. Try to sit up nice and tall. And inhale and let the pressure go to the belly, the obliques, and the lower back. So think about your whole abdominal area is a 360-degree circle that you're breathing into. Inhale 4, exhale 8. And from here, I'm going to start pressing the dowel into the barrier or the bench from 5%, 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%, turning all the tissues on the anterior side of my delts, all the tissues that are responsible for shoulder extension here, pressing into that, trying to get out of this stretch, going up to my safest and greatest effort, holding here for 10 seconds, trying to break the dowel into the bench, 5, 4, 3, 2, and then rails lift off using the triceps here and your rhomboids squeezing in to try to go deeper without flexing the neck and without flexing the spine. Trying to keep the spine extended and trying not to elevate at the scapula, going up into deeper shoulder extension, and then relax. Okay, now if that's a lot on your ankles, which is definitely a lot on my ankles, you can also do this like this. Okay. Same thing. This actually feels a lot better. From here, pressing down into the barrier and then trying to lift off. But notice that I'm cheating by bringing my head forward. So what I'm going to try to do is stay in this position, use the muscles and rails, but attempt not to compensate and cheat and go like this, right? So my goal really is to be able to lift off without that compensation. Then I know I have that true shoulder extension, which obviously I do not. So that's what I'm trying to improve here. So like many people, this is a very hard position to be in. And for some of you, this is very easy. So you can make it harder by making it higher. So it's up to you on how hard you want to make it. So you can do it lower, higher. From here, I'm going to start pressing into the barrier, 5%, 10%, 15, 20, 30%, 40, 50, 60, pressing my heels into the ground, using my forearms, my deltoids, my chest, trying to push through the barrier, my core, my quads, toes here, and then pulling away from the barrier, trying to use my rhomboids, pinching those together, trying to use my triceps, and trying to extend my neck or keep my neck in line with my back as I lift off, trying to pull those traps back and try to get that all the way up and hold. 4, 3, 2, and slowly bring it down. And then from here, just kind of unwind. You can do some quick wrist cars, and you can also do it with a closed fist. Okay. Also with the dowel, you can get into shoulder external rotation. So shoulder external rotation here and horizontal abduction. What I'm going to do is stretch that position passively first, almost like I'm about to throw something, right? So get into that area where I'm going to produce that force and end range so I can produce that whip, right? So you're producing that extra force here at end range so you can produce that force output. And we're going to breathe here. Inhale 4, exhale 8. Focusing on breathing. Obviously the air goes into the lungs. Air is not going into the belly, but pressure is. The diaphragm is lowering. So you'll feel pressure in the abdominal wall, obliques, lower back. That's where you want to put the pressure so you can get more oxygen in the lungs. You don't want to put oxygen in the chest and upper cavity because you'll have less oxygen in the lungs. So you're trying to put that pressure low and surrounding itself so it's equally kind of distant in the core. So you're not just overloading the stomach, you're also putting it in the back and the obliques. So you're not just like putting all the force output here because there's more room back here and to the side. So make sure that when you're breathing that you're focusing on diaphragmatic breathing. And when we irradiate, that's when we lower the diaphragm and just shallow breathe through those positions, holding ourselves steady, especially in our pals and our aroused contraction. So in our pals contraction, we'll lower the diaphragm, we'll keep everything tight here. Starting to jab, we're trying to dig this dowel into the ground at my end range of shoulder external rotation. I can find any line of tension I want here, whatever feels best. And then from here, what I'm going to do is push in 5%, 10%, 15, 20. Using the chest, the shoulder, the forearm, the core, pushing into the ground, pressing my feet into the ground, squeezing my core, chin in line with my sternum here if possible, 30 to 40%, 40 to 50, 50 to 60, 60 to 70, 70 to 80, 80 to 90. And I do my safest and greatest effort, holding that. 5, 4, 3, 2. My rails effort, I'm going to try to pull up using the opposite tissues here, my external rotators, which are post-delt here, trying to open up, going up the dowel, trying to go deeper into external shoulder rotation actively, and then releasing and relaxing and holding maybe a higher position on the dowel. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing and change my feet up. Press down, 10%, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 to 80 to 90, 100%. Just 5 seconds this time. 4, 3, 2, and then trying to lift off the dowel actively. So let go. But let it kind of slide along, hold it actively, and then go back to that passive stretch. Do the same thing on the other side. Find a good line of tension first. Shoulder external rotation, remember here, in the horizontal plane. The lower you get, obviously the harder it is. It just depends on your feet. You can always just switch up to positions like this. Kneeling. You can be in the quadruped position as well. So inhale 4, exhale 8. Just trying to relax here. Find a good line of tension in this whole area, especially in shoulder external rotation. Should have no pain here. If there's pain, you either want to stop doing this. Never done it before, it's probably not a good idea. If you are familiar with this and you're pain-free, we're going to start pressing into the ground at 5%, 10%, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and hold. We're going to build up to our safest and greatest effort and hold for 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and then we're going to try to lift up and off, go deeper into external shoulder rotation. Even if it doesn't go anywhere, that's fine. You're trying to actively go deeper using the opposite side of the joint, using the posterior tissue to go deeper, and then going back to your passive stretch. Going one more round. A good line of tension. Okay, 5% effort. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 to 70. Do your greatest and safest effort. Just 5 seconds here using the anterior tissues, your chest, delts, bicep, then rails. Use the opposite tissue. Holding that 5, 4, 3, 2. Try to pull away, and then back to your passive. All right. So with the dowel here, if you have it, you don't need it, you can just squeeze the fist. We're just going to go through some scapular rotations here. Trying to keep those elbows straight. And another way. Okay. And another way you can use the bench is to find an internal rotation stretch here, holding onto the pole, and then kind of pushing down. And as you push down, it'll begin to stretch out that internal rotation stretch here. The hold here. And then our pals are going to try to pull up out of internal rotation, trying to externally rotate, but you can't because you're holding onto the barrier. And then rails, you're going to try to go deeper into internal rotation. Breathe. And from here, we're going to try to pull out of this position. 5%, 10%, 20, 30 to 40, 40 to 50. We're just going to go to 70% at most. 5, 4, 3, 2, and then we're going to try to go down, pull, try to squeeze, go deeper into internal rotation. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then you can kind of open it back and forward here. Switching side. Same thing, holding on to the dowel. Feel that stretch along all the internal rotators there responsible, along the deltoids. You can also do this in the sideline position. So if you don't have access to this, you can also get into the sideline position just like this. Okay, but for today, I just want to kind of show a little bit different scenario where you can kind of get into position, kind of almost like you're about to get into arm wrestling contest, right? Okay. You can also do this into the wall. My last option I'll give you. All right, here we go. You try to pull out of the position, 5%, 10%, 20 to 30, all the way to 60, maybe 70%, depending on how your shoulder feels. Holding that for about 5 seconds. And then rail is trying to go down lower on the dowel, actively going deeper. And then back to your passive hold. And then kind of going back and forth. And then finishing that series with some good old-fashioned shoulder cars. If you have the dowel, that's great. We're going to take this up a level. So we're going to get into lunge position. And then from here, holding on to the lacrosse ball or tennis ball. I'm doing the left hand on my right leg forward. So just make sure the opposite leg is forward when we're doing this here. Okay. From here, we're going to go into flexion. Hold here. We're going to turn the bicep forward. Pommel face out. We're going to reach back. Hold here. Keep internally rotating at the shoulder. From here, reach all the way back toward the back wall. Back of the hand lands next to the side. From here, extension. You're going to unwind, external rotation as you make that full circle across the body and down. Push the dowel down. Try to squeeze the ball apart as you internally rotate and extend. Adduct and then external rotation all the way to flexion. Then switch. Flexion, bicep turns forward. You can use the wall as a barrier to make it harder for yourself or to see how advanced you can get by getting closer to the wall. Back of the hand next to the side. Extension first, external rotation, flexion, across the body, forward and down. Squeeze the ball, push the dowel into the ground, flexion, internal rotation, try to get away from that wall, back of the hand next to the left side, extension, unwind, external rotation, flexion all the way across the body and down, okay? And we'll perform infinity stretch where you have 2 balls that would be perfect, 2 lacrosse or tennis, 1 hand behind the back, going up the back, 1 hand behind the back, going over the shoulder. So I'm going to squeeze up, T, switch sides, and then try to go up the back and down the back. You're actually trying to get the balls to touch. So from here, extend, tee it out, reach up, back, trying to connect them, squeeze them together, and then vertical, and horizontal here, and then all the way up and down. Trying to get your fists together, and then extend toward the ceiling in shoulder flexion, both ways. And then axial rotation, internal rotation here, external rotation, turning those biceps back to the back wall. Trying to keep those elbows straight, hands over the shoulders, internal rotation. Trying not to extend the lower back to do this. And then external rotation. Internal, and then external. All right, last thing we'll do is cars without anything. So just real quick, shoulder, other shoulder, okay, internal and external rotation. And then you can do it at the same time. A little scapular rotation here. Both ways. Maybe some thoracic. Both ways. All right, so that was a good shoulder set we just went through. Went through extension, external, internal rotation, and flexion. So thank you for participating if you did. If you have questions, just comment below. I'll try to answer them before I head out. All right, thanks.